Welcome back, everyone, to OpenLine. Talking about the past presidential election, this most recent election. What happened in that election and what may happen in the next 4 years as Biden, President-elect Biden, takes over. We have some calls. We're happy to have with us Dr. Thomas Schwartz, Vanderbilt Political Science Professor. He's joining us via Zoom. And let's go to the phones. Let's go to Jim. Hello, Jim.
Hello there, gentlemen. Dr. Schwartz, good to speak with you, sir.
What is on your mind? Go ahead.
All right, couple of real quick things. You're talking about the Mr. Biden sending things back to the norms that we were at. Well, the point is that Trump went into office because of the fact that he wanted to get rid of some of the norms of politics. That's what put him there. And, when I hear about wanting to put things back the way they were, that leaves a bad taste in my mouth, to be honest with you. Now, the virus, he wants to put the virus under control. We have had a push in the past 12 months that has never been seen before, that our country has these virus vaccines ready to go. I don't know what the incoming president is going to be doing to do anything different than that, because the stage is set for him. And and one more thing, talking about trying to get the economy back on track. If we did not have the past 3 years of a growing and just strengthening economy and businesses coming back into the United States, we would not have been in the position that we are right now. When this pandemic hit, we would have went belly up as a country. Now, and so when I hear these things, it really disturbs me, because it's a lot of it is media driven, unfortunately. Now, the present company excluded, of course. But the president, for the past 3 and 4 years, has been suffering attacks, and most of them lies that have been proven. And I just don't understand why, when we're looking at this and we're hearing about these wonderful things that a new president is going to do, the stage is already set for him. So, I'm tired of hearing this bolsterous, oh gosh, he's going to do these great things. Well, he can't help but have a firm foundation to step in on if he truly does become the president.
Right.
So,
okay.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate your time.
Well, Jim, thank you. I know that you are not alone, and I appreciate your call and the questions you ask. And I'll just let you take it, Dr. Schwartz. I mean, what do you say to what he had to say there? He brought up several things.
Well, he's not wrong. I mean, Donald Trump was elected in a spirit that really was anti-Washington, against the swamp, all of those things. He violated a lot of norms. Some of them had to do with political behavior and the rest, and many people celebrated that. And Donald Trump got, with 74 million plus votes, the second highest number of votes in American history. The only problem is the other guy got 80 million. So he did, as much as he did shake things up, it's clear there was also a strong group who wanted to go back, or wanted to reverse that. And that will be something that Joe Biden faces. Now, for example, to take one example, how tough to be on China. I think on that question, Trump may have left a legacy that's going to be hard for Biden to reverse. It's going to be difficult for him to go back to an easier treatment of China, given what has happened in the last period. So Trump will have an effect, and Biden can't reverse everything or pretend that other things didn't happen. The caller's also right, Jim's also right to say that the vaccine speed with which the vaccine has been developed does owe something to the administration. Now, there are going to be people arguing about that for a long time, how much it had to do with what they actually did as compared to the scientists and all the rest, but it happened on their watch. So Biden might actually inherit a much better situation because the vaccines will be out, and so he'll be able to manage that. So I do understand why some Trump voters or people who lost in this past election may feel like his accomplishments will not be suitably recognized. This happens every time you have a transfer of power. People argue that the situation was terrible. Remember, Donald Trump said that he was inheriting, when he came into office, American carnage. He said everything was awful and he was going to make it better. Barack Obama said the same thing in 2009. line. So it's not uncommon that this is the case. And every president, no matter how bad the previous president has been, usually has to deal with some of the things and can't reverse everything overnight, and sometimes has to build on them. And certainly, Obama had allowed the economy to recover, even if it hadn't recovered as fast as many Trump supporters think it could have. He did not inherit an economy that was declining. He inherited one that was in a slow growth and was able to accelerate it. So I think the caller makes a lot of good points, but in the end, Biden won, and the Democrats were able to make a convincing narrative that they needed to be changed, and we'll just have to wait to see whether Biden can deliver.
I was interested to see President Trump's former campaign manager, Brad, and I'm forgetting his last name right now. He apparently went on Fox News and said if Trump had if he had tackled the coronavirus head on instead of trying to avoid it or run from it, he would have won. We were getting all of these polls early on, really right up until Election Day, indicating it was going to be a blowout. This was not a blowout. It was in the end, after the votes are counted, a decisive victory electoral college-wise. But good grief, 74 million people voted for President Trump, the most ever, as you said, except for one other person, and that's Joe Biden. And so he was close to winning. There is no doubt he leaves with a lot of support. But I also think it's true what you said, that Biden won in part because people voted against Donald Trump. I don't know that they voted because they love Joe Biden. It was because maybe some of them were just tired of all of the chaos, and while others loved the chaos. And so this is such a complicated time for our country. And how do you wrap your arms around all of that? What does all that mean?
Well, the other thing I'd point out is, yes, it was decisive in the Electoral College, but if you actually look at the numbers of votes, a couple of calculations have shown that you would have had an Electoral College tie with about 45,000 votes, and Trump would have won by 2 electoral votes with 66,000 changing in votes. And that's not a very large number out of the millions that were cast. So Trump came very close to replicating his old win, not winning the popular vote, but winning the Electoral College vote. He came very close to doing that. And I imagine that is extraordinarily frustrating, and that is why he has, one of the reasons why he has pushed all of these investigations. So it is the case, I think, that he feels like he was very close and all of that, and that he could win again, particularly by the way in which he campaigned and the significance of the battleground states that he almost won in. So in that sense, yeah, we're still very divided. Donald Trump is sort of a litmus test of what people think and whether they really prefer the sort of disruptive, chaotic approach to governance that also reflects a certain antagonism toward professional elites who are perceived as being out of touch with the American people, or whether they want a sort of quieter, you might say, more traditional type of governance that they were used to under previous both Democratic and Republican administrations. Biden won. We'll see if that holds for 4 years, or whether he's able to build support for that tradition.
Let's go to Mike now. Hello, Mike.
Good evening, Ben, and good evening to the professor. I'm looking at the bottom of the screen that says, what can we expect from Biden administration? First thing I would have to say is sanity, true sanity, where the patient is not running the asylum. Enough of a clown show. Shut down the tent. Barnum and Bailey Circus, they don't even exist anymore. So this is the last circus, I hope, on earth. We have been embarrassed. The world looks at us when I go travel abroad on business. For the last 4 years, we have been mocked. They laugh at us. You saw some of the heads of state over in Europe after not the G20 summit, but whatever. They were all, even Boris Johnson of all people, making fun of Donald Trump. And it's just time to get our respect back in the world. It's time to get somebody in there that's decent, that hasn't been alleged multiple times of sexual assault, fraud, not paying his taxes. And I think it's very unusual. He wants to do a pre-pardon for him and his children. So if you're innocent of a crime, you haven't done anything, Why would you do that? And I'll leave that to you guys to figure out. I hope you have a good night.
Mike, thank you. So 2 calls, 2 people with opposite perspectives, and that's great. I appreciate that call from Mike as well. We talked a little bit about that. Why would he do that? He would say that, Democrats are targeting him, and of course he's this victim, and that's why he would say it, and I think his supporters would go right along with that. But Mike kind of restated all the things from the other side, I would say. Is that right, Dr. Schwartz?
Well, the one thing he stated that's sort of different is the sense that many Americans have that the rest of the world thinks we're nuts, that electing someone like Donald Trump is crazy, and the idea that the European leaders mocked him and this sort of thing. And that, I think that is, I specialize in foreign policy, and I do know that one of the arguments is that the Trump foreign policy behavior has been very different. The attacks on allies, for example, always criticizing allies, but being close to people like Putin or even the Chinese leader before things went south after the pandemic. That Trump had a certain fondness for authoritarians and not for democratically elected leaders like Merkel in Germany or Macron in France. So I think that sense that the United States has lost something internationally because of Donald Trump is certainly powerful among people who care about America's reputation, leadership in the world. And I think this is, of course, reflective of the fact that the Trump supporters are more the America first and not as interested in the international reputation of the United States as perhaps many of those who voted for Joe Biden were.
Let's go to Joe. Hello, Joe.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
I was listening to one of your earlier callers, and with Trump being in office as long as he has it, and even now, for some reason, we're not looking at some of the things that took place. Let's look at the children at the border. I haven't heard anyone talk about that. All these children who were separated from their family. During the election, people were looking at the economy. But what about the people? No one was saying anything about it. It was just, as long as we get a president. But right now, from looking at our country, it's being laughed at due to the fact we've got a leader. If you really pay attention on how he talk about people, get on television, and even when he's in the wrong, he just lies almost every time. If they were going to give an A+ to a president for being a liar, he would be the head of the class. Or when things don't go his way, it's always fake news, which means everyone is lying on him if he doesn't like it. It shows that this country has been mixed up for a while. For some reason, when it comes to standing for right, we need a leader in there that will stand for what's right. Here's a key point that I want to make.
Okay.
All the people, during this time when we've had all the different, this country's divided between race, he's never really come out and said, hey, let's come together. Instead, he goes along with what's wrong. He won't really stand up and say what is exactly going on.
Okay, all right, let's talk about that. All right. He says he's never tried to bring the country together. Others, and it's true, we've been divided for a while, but we have heard presidents in the past at least talk about let's come together. Now, maybe they're, pushing through legislation in a not come together sort of way, but they're at least talking about it. Donald Trump didn't even pretend. And I think some people appreciated, I guess, the honesty with that. What about, how unusual is it, though, to have a president that is so, I guess, partisan in the sense that maybe his big concern is not trying to bring everybody together. His big concern is just to get through what he wants to get through.
Well, it's not uncommon in American history at various points. I mean, Franklin Roosevelt once gave a speech in which he talked about the people who hated him, the financiers, the wealthy, when he was dealing with the Depression. And he said, I welcome their hate. In a way, he was, this was certainly by his own implication, he was talking about a much narrower group of people, the people who had money and the stock in the stock market, the financiers, the industrialists, but still it was it was not a unifying message. unifying messages in American history have only usually been effective when we faced a national crisis, the war, World War II, 9/11, when you can make that argument and people feel compelled because of the threat that they're facing to want to unite. But it is a norm of American politics. Even one of the most divisive presidents in our history, Richard Nixon, began his administration by saying, "Bring us together." That's what he said when he won the election. He said, I saw a sign that said, "Bring us together. That's going to be the theme of my administration." And then he went on to be very divisive in the way he conducted the administration. So again, this is Donald Trump breaking a norm, but it's also one of those norms in which it's more stated than ever observed by most American presidents, except at time of crisis. Now, Joe Biden has during the campaign talked about being president for both sides, and that he would work as hard for the red states as the blue states, all of that. And certainly he's much more conscious of that norm and trying to use it. Also, in the midst of the coronavirus, trying to make the case that we are all in this together. How long that will last, I don't know, but he certainly is appealing more traditionally to that American belief that we should be unified.
Okay, let's see if that works. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back, take more calls. Lucy, Joe, David, hold on the line. Take your call right after this. Be back after this.
We wake up each and every day and watch in awe at how we've grown, all we've accomplished, and what our community can do. We are all part of a transformation, sparkling with energy and spirit. Not every day is smooth sailing, and there's always hard work to be done. But we have so much for which to be grateful. We celebrate life's moments, large and small. We've invited everyone to share what makes our home special, welcoming, beautiful. We realize in the day-to-day stories of our city, it's not always easy to appreciate the big picture. These big pictures are brought to you by NewsChannel 5's Sky 5. Look for a fresh perspective each new day. Forget for a moment about the numbers.
There are so many cars.
Remember the loved ones it's afflicting.
I didn't think I was going to come home.
The communities it's affecting.
They're going through so much.
NewsChannel 5 knows the real story of the pandemic is you. Your life, your family, your safety, and how to cope until the cure. Stay safe, informed, connected with NewsChannel 5.
Court TV has returned to television because everyone deserves their day in court to declare their innocence or have a jury judge their guilt.
With live gavel-to-gavel trial coverage from across America.
Guilty.
Guilty. Not guilty. Only one team can bring you this real-life drama. And only one network will show you the truth behind true crime.
The all-new Court TV.
We are talking politics and the presidential election, and we have with us Vanderbilt Political Science Professor Dr. Thomas Schwartz joining us via Zoom, and several calls. Let's go to Lucy. Hello, Lucy.
Hey, y'all. Well, listen, I have to comment on the pardon thing. I didn't want to, but, I sat around today in my spare time thinking, what would you want all these people pardoned for? And the only common denominator I can think about, because, is Ukraine. Because Jared Kushner, he's Ukrainian. His family's in the Ukraine. You've got the president's now only a lawyer from New York City, Giuliani. He's got some deal in Ukraine. Trump's business partner, Phillips from Las Vegas, he's married to Miss Ukraine, and he's the one that got Pompeo into the position of Secretary of State. So I don't know what's going on, but it's just like, you're going to bring this up now when things are going on like they are. I saw Alexander today give his speech, and the only thing that I can think of Mr. Alexander is Trump, to me, is blatant on meth, crack cocaine and steroids all at once, and you said really not much of anything. And as far as passing amendments, if it's benefited the rich, they've passed amendments in the Senate. If Mr. Alexander wants to make it right with me, he can go up to the Speaker of the Senate there, the Majority Whip, and stick a magnet to his head, because I want to know if he's a robot or real, because I think he's turned the Senate into what the Taiwanese government does every day, and Mitch McConnell should be practicing the word "suey" more often. So anyway, I just want to say this one thing. My major thing is I want to see press conferences come back. And, I'm tired of Aunt Lydia from Warren Jeff's FLDS church being the head of the press conferences all the time. It matters not to me that they're all women, because it doesn't matter if you're a man or woman. I wish people would get over all this. It's the first woman. It's an all woman. Who cares anymore? I want somebody that's going to be able to communicate to the common person, and the common person really does want to know more than what these politicians give them credit for.
Okay.
So
All right.
what do you think about press conferences coming back?
All right, let's talk about that. Lucy, thank you. Press conferences.
Well, President Trump actually held a lot of them for a time. He loved them because he could fight sometimes. He's been a little quiet lately and not been doing it. It'll be interesting to me to see if Joe Biden likes the press conference idea. He should probably face a pretty sympathetic media for the early period of his administration, but press conferences are a challenging thing, and that's why he set up a whole media team, all women, as the caller mentioned, to guide the messaging in his administration. I don't actually expect him to be a frequent press conference person. I doubt that.
We didn't see that a lot in his campaign. And you're right. President Trump did answer questions. I mean, you could argue, what he said and how truthful it was or whatever, but he was not afraid to walk up and answer all kinds of questions, and he did that a lot. Let's try and get in one more here. Joe, can you go really quickly? What is your comment? That always happens when I ask. Joe, are you there?
Joe?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead. Fairly quickly.
I just wanted to comment on the preemptive pardons for Trump gave his members of his family.
Okay.
Whether they're guilty or not, it'll never end with people going after them, and if they are innocent, then they could destroy them. So I think they should let the pardons go as they are and pursue other avenues.
So you're okay? You're okay with a preemptive pardon for family members? You're okay with that?
Well, I think it's necessary to get the government back in line and working.
Okay. All right, Joe, thank you. And now I want to make it clear, he hasn't done that, right? Right, Professor? He hasn't done it yet.
No.
He's just talking about it.
The only person he pardoned was his former national security advisor right now. But he's got another month and a half to do something.
He's got some more time. But no, it hadn't happened yet. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. Be back right after this.